Hi everyone, and welcome back to Pepple's Potager. So this evening I wanted to talk a little more about the Cherokee Purple Tomatoes I've been growing. And there's one specific characteristic I wanted to talk about with them, and that is the ability for the plants to make megablooms. And what megablooms are a cluster of tomato flowers together that form a very large tomato, and Cherokee Purples are famous for doing that. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at some of the plants here, and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so here we are. Here's my Cherokee Purples. I have 8 of them lined up here in front of the trellis, and as you can see, there are quite a few large flowers on these plants here. So they are doing quite well, and we'll walk up here a little bit closer. And you can see there's some large clusters of flowers here. But if you look over here on this first plant, you can see there's a very, very large flower there growing. And that's a cluster of about 3 or 4 tomato flowers together. And that is what I was talking about. That is a megabloom. A megabloom is basically a cluster of tomato flowers together that will form a very, very large tomato. So I'm hoping this one turns out to be really big, and if it does, could be one of the biggest ones I've grown so far since I've been growing tomatoes. And that's also not the only megabloom I have growing right now. On just about every plant I have at least one large megabloom, and as you can see, there's one right here, although it's hard to see, it's kind of bent over. And Cherokee Purples do have some unusual growth patterns with them, in that sometimes on the main stem you will get a very large cluster of tomatoes that almost will stunt the growth of the tomato plant and keep it from growing. And moving on down the line here, you can see this third plant also has some very large blooms on it. It already has a mega bloom that has formed into a tomato right there. And move on down here to the fourth plant, and it has yet another very large tomato forming right here. And then there's the fifth tomato plant there. There's also a very large tomato right there. And then moving on down to even the sixth tomato plant. Already quite a few large tomatoes on there. And moving on down all the way to the end here, some very large clusters of tomatoes here as well. And then finally the last Cherokee Purple here, also pretty much the same way. A very large tomato here growing on this one. So they are doing quite well so far. And also the mortgage lifters here on the back side also do have a few mega blooms, but they are not quite as big as the Cherokee Purples. I often get very large ones on these Cherokee Purples, but we'll move around here. We'll look at the mortgage lifters as well. You can see here's quite a large flower there, and then a few of them right here as well. But for the most part, the mortgage lifters don't have very many mega blooms on them. Nowhere near as much as the Cherokee Purples. And as a matter of fact, I really have only seen the really large mega blooms on the Cherokee Purples. There hasn't been too many other plants that I've seen them on. I have seen maybe a few on some hybrid plants, but most of the time the Megablooms seem to be on the heirloom tomatoes. Not very many I have seen on the hybrids. And but also, as you can see, the mortgage lifters are still doing quite well. Nowhere near the amount of clusters of tomatoes that I have on the Cherokee Purples there. We have some clusters of tomatoes, but nothing quite as large as those. And moving over here to the end, all the way to the end of where the mortgage lifters are, still no really large clusters of tomatoes like I have with those Cherokee Purples. So I couldn't be more pleased with how they're doing right now, and I hope they continue to do quite well. And let's go ahead and we'll walk back around here this side and take another look at them real quick. Look at that. Very, very large clusters of tomatoes here. So, I'm very happy with how they turned out so far, and I hope they continue to do well. And also, if you enjoyed this video and you've never watched my videos before, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day.